Andor's parallels with Jimmy Kimmel Cancellation candidly addressed by creator. You ever watch a TV show that felt less like entertainment and more like a warning? That's what happened to me when I binged Andor. I thought I was just settling in for another Star Wars prequel. You know, some rebels, some blasters, some stormtroopers missing every single shot. But halfway through, it hit me. Andor wasn't just telling a Star Wars story, it was whispering a prophecy. And now Tony Gilroy, the very man behind it, just confirmed it in the most jaw-dropping way. Because when he connected Andor's fascist empire to Jimmy Kimmel getting yanked off the air, yeah, I almost dropped my coffee. Wait, what? A Star Wars rebellion show and a late-night comedian? What kind of forbidden crossover episode is this? Here's the hook. My friends, Andor predicted Jimmy Kimmel's Cancellation. And not in a, funny meme way. In a, oh no, this is real life, and free speech is hanging by a thread way. So let me ask you, if a galaxy far away is suddenly looking a lot like our own world, are we the rebels fighting for truth or the citizens sleepwalking into an empire's grip? Yeah, sit with that. Tony Gilroy, the genius behind Andor, didn't just write about rebellion. He lived in that headspace for 6 straight years. 6 years imagining how an authoritarian regime slowly suffocates everyday people. 6 years crafting the story of ordinary beings, forced to choose between silence and resistance. And now he's looking at what's happening to Jimmy Kimmel and saying, yeah, it's the same thing. Think about how insane that is. You go from stormtroopers to late-night TV hosts. From the empire to Disney suspending its own comedian because the president doesn't like his jokes. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Disney is standing at a crossroads. Do they protect one of their longest-running late-night hosts? Or do they cave to political pressure and silence him? Sound familiar? It should. That's literally the entire plot of Andor. Whole planets, whole cultures trapped in that exact decision: resist and risk everything, or obey and lose your soul. And this is where it gets controversial. Because no matter which side of politics you're on, this moment matters. If artists can't speak their minds, what's left? Are we really okay with a future where jokes get approved by government censors? Now I'll be honest, when I first read Gilroy's comments I thought, this is just Hollywood drama. It'll blow over. But then I remembered something from Andor. In Season 1 when Luthen says, I burn my life for a sunrise I'll never see. That wasn't just a line. That was a warning. And here we are, living in the version of reality where the sun might never rise on free expression again. Okay, lean in, because here's where it gets dark. Gilroy didn't just compare Disney's decision to a mistake. He compared it to the first step in authoritarian control. He basically said today it's Jimmy Kimmel. Tomorrow, it's every artist, every writer, every comedian, and it won't stop there. You'll meet these so-called oversight officers when you pitch a show. You'll feel their presence when topics get banned before you even write them. You'll see their fingerprints on every script that feels off. And isn't that exactly how Andor began? Not with a massive war, but with a quiet shift. A restriction here, a ban there. Fear slowly replacing freedom until no one even noticed when liberty disappeared. That's the forbidden knowledge Gilroy just dropped on us. We're already in Act 1 of this play. The Empire doesn't arrive with blasters blazing. It arrives with silence. Now, before I go deep, let me ask you something. If you were Cassian Andor, an ordinary person stuck in a system that keeps tightening its grip, would you risk your life to fight back? Or would you keep your head down and hope someone else does it for you? Drop your answer in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious. Personally, I'd love to say I'd be a rebel, but let's be real, I can barely rebel against my phone's low battery, warning without spiraling. Still, that's the genius of Andor. It makes you ask yourself, what kind of person am I? Really, when the stakes are this high? Gilroy didn't mince words. He called Trump's tactics coercion and intimidation. He said silencing comedians isn't just petty, it's strategic. And if that doesn't sound like Palpatine-level politics, I don't know what does. And he's right. Think about history. The first thing Putin did when he came to power, silenced critical comedians in shows. The first thing authoritarian governments always do, go after artists. Why? Because laughter is dangerous. Storytelling is dangerous. Truth tellers are the single biggest threat to power. So when Jimmy Kimmel gets suspended for telling jokes, that's not a skirmish. That's a siege. And listen, if you're still here, if you're someone who sees the parallels, who feels the creeping chill of history repeating itself through a Star Wars show of all things, then you're exactly the kind of rebel I want in this community. So hit that subscribe button right now and join Breakdown Epic, because trust me, the deeper we go, the more secrets we're gonna uncover. Here's the haunting part. Gilroy warned us that silence doesn't come all at once. It comes in waves. First, they tell you a joke is too much. Then they tell you a topic is too sensitive. Then before you know it, you're asking permission just to speak. And Disney, they're at the center of this storm. Do they defend free speech, or become the empire in real time? I can't help but think about Andor's prison arc. Remember when every prisoner chanted, "One way out"? That was fiction. But it's starting to sound like our reality. One way out, speak up, or lose everything. So let's dive straight into the heart of it. Because Tony Gilroy didn't just drop a spicy take, he basically issued a prophecy. He said Hollywood is facing, quote, the most sophisticated, venomous creeping evil in America's history. Now pause. That's not a writer hyping up his show. That's a man who spent years dissecting how fascism works, standing up and saying, guys, the Death Star isn't fiction anymore, it's under construction, right here, right now. And if you think that sounds dramatic, remember the same people who once laughed at Caesar's rise, or shrugged when free press got shut down in other countries, were the ones who later asked, how did this happen so fast? Gilroy pointed out something chilling: governments don't fear armies first, they fear artists. Why? Because stories change people, jokes disarm them, songs stir them, and once you control that, you control the imagination. In Andor, the Empire didn't just roll out star destroyers, they rolled out propaganda, they banned languages, they erased culture. And when you look at Jimmy Kimmel being told what he can and can't joke about, you can't help but see the secret blueprint. And here's the forbidden knowledge Gilroy basically hinted at: silence starts small, but it snowballs. Today it's a comedian losing his platform. Tomorrow it could be your favorite show canceled not because it failed, but because it dared to say something. Let's play a little what if. What if Andor had never aired? What if Gilroy never gave us this lens to look at the world? Would anyone even notice what's happening with Kimmel? Or would we just scroll, shrug, and move on to the next trending topic? Now flip it. What if Kimmel isn't reinstated? What if Disney quietly lets his contract go? What if other late-night hosts take the hint and self-censor? Suddenly, our entire culture looks less like a conversation and more like a curated feed. Sounds familiar, right? That's literally the kind of curated existence Andor warned us about. So let me ask you this. Drop it in the comments right now. Do you think Disney is making a business decision or becoming the empire in real time? Option A, it's just corporate damage control. Chill out. Option B, nope. This is the first step towards censorship. And if you're one of those rare rebels who's like, option C, it's both, well, congratulations, you're probably Luthen Rail. Longtime viewers of Breakdown Epic, you know we've talked about this before. Remember when I broke down how the Mandalorian snuck in commentary about surveillance and trust in government? Yeah, we've been circling this conversation for months, and now it feels like Gilroy just threw the doors wide open and said, stop theorizing, it's happening. Now, I'll be real with you. Sometimes I feel like the paranoid fan at the party. Like, everyone else is debating which Jedi could bench press more, and I'm over here connecting late-night TV to Andor prison arcs. But then Gilroy comes out swinging with this column, and suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy, or maybe Gilroy's just as crazy as I am, and misery loves company. Either way, here we are. Here's the part that made me laugh. Because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Gilroy compared this whole ordeal to Putin's first moves in power. And all I could think was, somewhere Palpatine is watching like, finally, some competition. Seriously, the meme writes itself. When you realize your late-night monologue was too spicy for the Empire, cue sad Imperial March on Kazoo. But let's pull the comedy curtain back, because this is deadly serious. Gilroy warned that soon there will be no impartial observers. That if you're silent, you've already chosen a side. And that's the scariest part, right? Because it means every one of us, whether we're just sipping coffee or scrolling YouTube at 2 a.m., has already been drafted into this fight. No sidelines, no spectators, just choices. And doesn't that echo Andor's central question? Will you stand up, or will you hide? So here's what I want you to do. Imagine you're a Disney executive right now. You've got Trump breathing down your neck. You've got fans screaming about censorship, and you've got shareholders panicking about bad press. What do? Do you cancel Kimmel and play it safe? Or do you fight back and risk the onslaught? Answer in the comments like you're actually sitting in the boardroom. I'll read every single one, and I want to see how many rebels we've got versus how many pragmatists. Because here's my fear: if Disney caves, it doesn't stop here, it never does. The First Amendment, the oxygen that sustains this entire industry, starts running out. And when that oxygen's gone, so is the art, so is the laughter, so are the stories that keep us human. And when Gilroy says this is the most venomous evil in America's history, he's not exaggerating, he's naming it. We started this video with one shocking idea. Andor predicted Jimmy Kimmel's cancellation. And after everything Gilroy just laid out, can you really say that's far-fetched? Because I can't. Andor wasn't just Star Wars, it was a manual for survival, a warning siren disguised as space opera. And now that siren is blaring in real life. So rebels, it's decision time. Are we gonna be the ones who shrug and say, it's just late night TV? Or are we gonna recognize that this is the opening crawl of a much bigger story? If you've made it this far, you're officially part of the rebellion. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Seriously, that's like watching A New Hope and refusing to join the Death Star trench run. Don't be that guy. Hit subscribe, join the squad, and let's keep exposing these forbidden truths together. And hey, if the Empire does come for us, at least we'll go down in the comments section, memeing our way into history. So tell me, are you Luthen, ready to burn for the sunrise? Or are you Cassian, still figuring out if rebellion is worth it? Drop it below and may the Force, or at least free speech, be with you.